Marcus Vega, Chapter 7, Pressing Send. The next morning, I step into my closet, pull out my sneakers, and lace them up. I got a new pair of kicks for Christmas, and they've already starting to wear down. Some kids have 6 or 7 pairs of sneakers. They like to show them off. I see them bragging to each other during lunchtime, especially Stefan. He comes in with a new pair every other week. I have a few, but I usually wear the newer ones consistently for about a month straight. Every day I like the way they mold to my feet, the more I use them. It's like the shoes get comfortable with me and vice versa. We fit better the more time we spend together. Anyway, what's the point of having shoes that are barely used? I bet Stefan doesn't use his sneakers more than 4 or 5 times, if that. My mom walks by and stops at my door, nearly spilling her coffee. Whoa! Just where do you think you're going, mister? Walking the kids to school, I tell her as I finish getting ready. Marcus, did you hear anything that Principal Jenkins said yesterday? No more business ventures. Mom, these kids paid through the end of the week. That's today. I tell her. I have to fulfill my obligation to them. Marcus, you are charging kids to walk them to school? Do you not see the problem with that? They asked me to do it, I reply, and I give them a fair price. You are not a private security company, Marcus. Honey, this isn't a joke. I never said it was, I say. I can tell my mom is getting frustrated. She starts to rub her neck, which has gotten red. Mine gets like that when I'm angry, too. I have to honor my commitment, I tell her. It's just today, then that's it. My mom watches me carefully, then shakes her head. Marcus, we have to lay low. I'm worried. I really want you to stay out of sight while all of this gets sorted out. Just today, Mom, I promise. She exhales, then takes a sip of her coffee. Okay, just be careful. Stefan's mom is looking for any opportunity. I will, I say, as I pass her to get to the stairs. Grace said she would do a house visit later for Charlie. Cool, I say. She's really great, Mom says, walking down the stairs. She watches me as I start outside. I turn around before I leave. I'm sorry for all that went down, Mom, I say. You shouldn't have punched him, Marcus. That's never a good solution. I'm worried now that the kids you're walking... Those kids wouldn't say anything, I tell her. When they walk with me, Stefan doesn't pick on them. That's what I'm afraid of, she says. That he's going to be waiting around to taunt you. Don't worry, Mom. It'll be fine. I see the concern on her face. She thinks Stefan is going to push me over the limit again. Expulsions stay on your permanent record, Marcus. I can tell she's trying to stall. Mom, I gotta go. I'm going to be late. And you're so smart. You'll be able to get into any good school. I'm going to high school next year. It's why I've been thinking that maybe the academy would be better for Charlie. When I graduate, he's going to be left alone in middle school. Stefan won't be there anymore, but there's always another Stefan waiting in the wings. You know what? I'm going to start looking into our family trip, she declares. I think there might be a silver lining to all of this. Cool, I tell her, and give her a kiss on the cheek before finally heading out. Be careful, sweetie, she says. I will, I tell her. My mom looks at me over the rim of her coffee cup as she takes another sip. Then I hear her close the door behind me. The cold air hardens my cheeks as I make my way to Danny's house. When I get there, he's on the lawn, throwing little twigs at a tree. What are you doing? I ask. Oh, hey, he says, dropping the twigs and walking over. I was playing Dragon Lord. These are my fire sticks. He points to the branches on the brown patch of grass in his yard. Ready, I say. Are you sure that's a good idea, he says, putting the stick down. Principal Jenkins said you couldn't... Let's go, I tell him, starting to walk. Really, I can walk myself. It's not a big deal. You paid me, I tell him. No freebies. I'm already late to pick up the other kids, so I hurry. Danny's feet move faster to keep up. I map out a route in my head that will save me a few minutes. I make a plan to drop the kids off at the corner of the school and wait until they get in safely. Hey, Danny says, almost jogging to keep up. I started a petition after you left yesterday to get you back into school. All of the 6th graders signed it. I ask him why he's helping me. I don't have any siblings, he says, or too many friends. Plus, I believe in justice. We keep walking to the other kids' houses, and one by one they come running out to greet me. They're excited I'm walking them, but they're also worried I'm going to get into trouble. I tell them the same thing I told Danny. A job is a job. They bounce around excitedly, asking what it felt like to punch somebody and how many times I've knocked someone out. They're surprised when I tell them it was the first time I ever did that. Then they're surprised I'm actually talking to them. You've never said more than 3 words to me, one kid marvels. I feel so important all of a sudden, another one says. Gentlemen, Danny interrupts, give him some space. Danny tells them that they have to keep petitioning the school to claim justice. He tells them that Stefan cannot continue to get away with this psychological torment. Danny talks like he's 40 years old. We're about a block away from school when the kids stop. It's Stefan. His mom gets out of the car with him and holds up the drop-off line. She puts her hand up at the other cars like she's annoyed at all the honking, and she walks him into school and gives him a kiss on the cheek and rubs his back. After Stefan goes inside, I tell the kids with me to go. Meet me here at 3, I tell them. They all agree. Danny stays behind. Thanks, Marcus, he says. I nod. It's the weekend and the official start to spring break. Break is early this year, so it's still cold outside. Mom hadn't mentioned our trip in a couple of days, and it was looking more and more like we weren't going to go. Suddenly, she calls us over to the dinner table and does this whole special presentation for us. Okay, my wonderful children, I have obtained... Wait for it. What is it, Mom? Charlie says, bouncing up and down, hardly able to contain himself. So, she says, going through her purse, I have obtained 3 tickets to Disney! Charlie jumps from his seat. No, not Disney. Ah, crud. Charles Antonio Vega. Mouth. My brother sits and crosses his arms in protest. He's not moving from there for a while. We're not going to Disney, my mom continues, but we are going somewhere. It's a drum roll, please. You got the tickets to Puerto Rico, I say, standing up. She drops the envelope on the table, a deflated look on her face. Way to take the drama out of the surprise, sweetheart. It's the only option we ever talked about, Mom. She livens up again like I didn't just ruin her reveal. We're going to Puerto Rico! You said that, Charlie says. Yes, I did. We're staying with Uncle Erminio? I asked. Yes, we are. And neither the flight nor the stay will cost us any Cookie Monster cash. I look at the ticket again and then at my brother who is carefully poring over the information on it with me. It says Miami on the ticket, Charlie points out. We're connecting through Miami and then to San Juan. Cool, huh? Charlie studies the itinerary a few more times. Flight 1836, he says. We leave Philadelphia at 6 a.m., arrive in Miami at 8:53 a.m., and then leave Miami at 11:30 a.m., and arrive in Puerto Rico at 3:10 p.m. Yep, we're going to be in Puerto Rico for 5 days, and here's the best part. We leave in just 2 days. Charlie jumps up and down like he's just won $1 million. My mom takes him by the hands and they dance around the table. Then my mom starts chanting, my kids and me fly for free, my kids and me fly for free. Well, we pay tax, but still, my kids and me fly for free. I don't dance, but I smile. I definitely smile. For the next 2 days, Charlie gets busy checking maps of Puerto Rico and bus routes. I checked the weather online and it's 80 degrees in Puerto Rico right now. I can't imagine the end of February being that hot. I asked my mom if she's talked to Uncle Erminio about my dad yet, but she keeps avoiding the question. I ask her for my dad's email about 1,000,000 times. Finally, she gives it to me. Remember, this is our vacation. But I can still email him, I say. I mean, we're staying at his uncle's house. He's got to be in touch with him. If your father responds, we'll go see him, okay? I nod. If I'm being honest, I'm a little excited about the idea of seeing my dad. He hasn't been around, but maybe he's been too shy to reach out. My mom gives me his email. I go to my room and sit at my desk. I turn on my computer and click on the tab to compose a new message, then freeze. How do you start an email to a father you haven't seen in 10 years? Dear Mr. Vega? Too formal. Hi, hey. Too excited. Yo, what up, father? It's me, your son, Marcus. Nah, that's silly. Dear Dad. No, I keep deleting the email and rewriting. Finally, I settle on an introduction. Hello, it's Marcus, your son. We're going to Puerto Rico in a few days. We're staying with Uncle Herminio. Your uncle, my great uncle. You know that. Anyway, if you're around, this is my email. I don't know if there's Wi-Fi in Puerto Rico. Is there? Well, anyway, if you get this before we leave, I look at the plane ticket. Maybe you can scoop us up at the airport, if you're free. We arrive at 3:10 p.m. Here's the info. I type the flight number, the date we arrive, and the airline we're flying on. Hopefully you can pick us up. It will be me, my mom, and Charlie. He's 12 now. You probably know that. Anyway, this is my email. I'll be checking it. Bye, Marcus. I press send and I refresh it a few times and then check my sent folder to make sure the email went through. I leave my computer on the rest of the day and check it whenever I'm in my room to see if he's responded. My mom doesn't say anything because she's busy preparing for the flight. I tell her my dad might pick us up. Okay, sweetheart, she says, but don't. I know, I tell her. Look, it's completely possible he'll show up. He still hasn't answered, but that doesn't mean he hasn't read the email. I make a note to send him another one the day we leave, to remind him when we arrive. Maybe he's just busy. He might have the email and decide that he doesn't need to respond. He'll just show up. I ask my mom if there's Wi-Fi in Puerto Rico, and she says yes, but she doesn't want to be using her phone while we're there. I tell her we should bring the phone just in case we need it. The day before we fly, I'm so excited about the trip that somehow I end up at Danny's house. My dad still hasn't emailed back, but it's probably because he hasn't had time to check. I don't know why I end up at Danny's. I think maybe he would want to hear about the trip. Make sure you wear plenty of sunscreen, he says. It gets very humid in Puerto Rico, and even though it's raining, it doesn't mean you can't get a sunburn. He tells me about the sustainable farms that are beginning to pop up in parts of the countryside. Danny's a smart kid. Take pictures, he says. I don't have a camera, or a phone with a camera. He ponders this for a moment, then his face lights up and he runs into another room in the house. He comes back and hands me a huge camera case. Here you go. I can't take this, I say. It's just for a few days, he insists, and besides, my parents never use it. Danny, look, He interrupts before I can finish. Listen, this is a once-in-a-lifetime trip. You're going to want to remember it. I guess he has a point. I'm not used to someone giving me something just because they want to. Usually there's a transaction. I get something, they get something. Fear is generally a factor. This is a first. I take the camera and thank him. We say goodbye, and he offers his hand. I shake it and head back home. Hasta luego, Marcus. See you, I say, clutching the camera bag. When I arrive at my house, my mom is pacing up and down the hallway, thinking out loud about all the things we need for the trip. Okay, we're going for 5 days, so that means we need 5 outfits, 1 for each day. Or do we need 6, plus extra underwear and shoes? How many pairs of shoes do I need? Oh, I don't need dressy shoes. It's not like I'm going out or anything. And what else? Mom, I say, stepping in front of her, we're not going away for a month. I watch her put clothes into one large suitcase and then rush over to my brother's room and come back with another haul. She carefully examines the clothes on her bed. We'll take 1 large suitcase, and each of us will have 1 carry-on. That way all of our stuff is in one place. Makes sense. Mom, we don't need that many clothes. As my mom digs through her closet, she finds a box. The look on her face tells me she isn't happy to see it. She makes her way back to the bed and sits down, the box on her lap. I sit next to her as she opens it. She pulls out a few family photos that are folded and wrinkled. There are some movie ticket stubs and letters. Then my mom pulls out my dad's old driver's license. This item seems to suck all the noise out of the air for just a moment. He just left everything behind, she says. Then I get a call one day from Puerto Rico. It was your father, half-heartedly saying I should join him once he got his new business up and running. My mom holds out the box in her hands. She puts it down and looks at me for a moment before offering a smile. And then you wake up and 10 years have... My mom trails off. Do you get why I don't want to see him, sweetheart? My mom is quiet after she says this. But he said to come, I tell her. And we're going. Maybe it's all just been a huge miscommunication. Maybe he doesn't know what to say. Maybe he thought because you never went that you didn't want to see him. Sweetie, I want you to believe that. I really do, she says, but that's not how these stories end. I feel the blood rushing to my neck, but I don't say anything. I grab my dad's ID before she can put it away. She may be done with my dad, but I'm not. I want answers. Charlie hasn't looked up from Mom's laptop the whole time. He's been studying airport maps, flight times, directions to get to Uncle Arminio's house from the airport, and San Juan's city layout. It doesn't look like he's listening to us, but I bet he is. My brother is smart. He doesn't remember my dad, but he makes it his mission to learn everything he can about Puerto Rican culture. If he knows everything, he feels prepared. That's really important to him. I came home the other day to some Spanish music blasting in my room, and Charlie moving his hips like they were connected to supercharged batteries. "Salsa," he said while he danced. I go to my room and grab a few pairs of shorts and shirts and throw them into my backpack. I put aside my good pair of sneakers and lay out a large hoodie and some cargo pants for the plane. I put my camera bag next to my backpack and throw myself onto my bed, thinking about everything. By the time my mom finishes packing, it's around midnight. Our flight is at 6 in the morning, and we have to get to the train by 3. Charlie is already asleep, but I'm not tired. So I stare at the water stains on our ceiling. They spread across the room like mountain ranges. I take my dad's ID out of my pocket. Marcus Antonio Vega. My father is about the same height as me. We have the same eyes, wide brown ovals. We have the same skin that darkens in the sun, not like my brother. He got my mom's fair complexion. My dad has curly brown hair like mine, only his is longer. And he doesn't smile, another thing that makes us look exactly alike. I get up one last time to check my email. He still hasn't responded. I write him another note. "Hi, I have your ID. Maybe we can meet up when we're in Puerto Rico, and I can give it to you then. Bye, Marcus." I look at the note a few times before finally pressing send.